This is task 2 of Stronger, standing taller, living stronger. For this, you're going to need a wall, a mat, a chair, and a massage ball. Sometimes these are firm, like lacrosse balls, or they can be spiky massage balls too. Either will work. So in order to start this task, we need to work out whether you fit into the Lordotic back posture, sway back posture, or somewhere in between. So start leaning against the wall and just stay there for a few moments. I've got my feet away from the wall so the wall is supporting me. And then we're going to notice what's touching the wall. Can you feel that your shoulders are touching, your head is touching, your bottom touching the wall? Maybe there's a big gap between you and the wall. Slide your hand underneath you and notice, is there a big gap and most of the weight is on your bottom and your shoulders? And perhaps you'll notice the features of a Lordotic posture more. And then perhaps you might be on the opposite scale and your back might be pressed firmly into the wall. Maybe your head juts off and away from the wall. Maybe you can't feel your bottom touching at all and there's no space between you and the wall. This is going to identify as much more of a sway back posture with our bottoms tucked underneath us and a loss of that curve in our lower back. So depending on what you find here is going to mean whether you work on the first few exercises or the second part of this video. And if you're not sure, work through each of these exercises and notice which feels good for you and your body. So we're going to start with Lordotic posture and that's spinal mobility. So in lying, you're going to have your feet together, your arms out by your side, and you're going to roll your knees all the way over to one side, turning your head to look over the opposite shoulder. You allow your hip to lift up off the floor. You want to keep your shoulders pressed down onto the mat, but let your waist open and stretch. Squeeze your legs together, come back through the center, and then roll to the right hand side. Looking over your left shoulder, allowing your left hip to lift up off the mat. And you're just going to roll from side to side. You're going to think of like a corkscrew loosening as you roll, open, and mobilize your spine. If we're stuck in a Lordotic posture, then your back might feel very tight and sore. And this is a nice way to relieve stiffness and soreness. It's going to open us up into the next exercises too. So spend a few minutes here on this hip twist, this knee rolling, spinal mobility. See if you can roll your head in the opposite direction so your whole spinal column gets to move. Next, we're going to come into thigh stretch. So this is where you're going to need a chair, a sofa, a low box. And you're going to be kneeling about lower legs distance away from that chair. And you're going to lift one leg up. Use your hand to help you if you need to. Step that leg back a little way and rest your foot up on the chair. The other leg can step through for balance now. Now from here, you can push your hip forwards or bring your bottom to your heel, whichever gives you the greatest stretch. If you're moving forwards, the stretch is going to move up higher. If you move backwards, that stretch is going to be more around the top of the knee. Maybe even take the same arm up so that whole channel gets a nice long stretch. If we're getting pulled forwards into a Lordotic posture, these muscles can often be responsible for that. So see if you can tuck your tailbone underneath you, push and open that hip forwards to stretch the front even more. We're going to hold it for 30 seconds. Over that time, getting creep through the muscle and letting it stretch out a little bit further. And then you're going to change sides. So you can step up, and then you can use your hand to help you pop your foot up onto the chair. Step through, and again, play around with how it feels to stretch through your thigh, lean back, top of the knee, and roll between those two positions, noticing where you feel your greatest stretch. And then you can bring that arm up too, tuck your tailbone underneath you, lean backwards, and hold for 30 seconds. Think about lifting from your breastbone, slightly lean back. Pad out your knee if you need to. And then you're going to repeat that twice on each side. Next comes child's pose. So you might recognise this movement. We're going to take our Lordotic posture into the absolute opposite curve. So we're going to start in kneeling. And I want you to try and get your bottom onto your heels. That's really important. You're going to pull your belly button in towards your spine and you're going to fold over, aiming to get your forehead close to the floor without your bottom lifting up of your heels. You rest your shoulders down, arms relaxed at your side. If your bottom lifts off, then you can pad out your forehead with your hands or some cushions. Try and allow your back to stretch out, slowly reducing the height of that cushion until you can get your bottom onto the floor, keeping your bottom on your heels, your head on the floor, keeping your bottom on your heels. And you allow your back to lift up. Sometimes it can feel nice to lift your belly off of your thighs, curl in even more, relax back down into it. The whole while keeping your bottom on your thighs, forehead on the mat, arms relaxed. Spend 1 to 2 minutes here allowing your back to really let go. Rolling up and out of your child's pose. We're going to move from the stretching to more of the strengthening, which is going to hold us in our new posture. So rolling onto your back. This is where you're going to need your chair again. So you want to rest with a little bend in your knees, feet up on a chair or cushion, stool, sofa. And from here, we're just going to tuck our bottom slightly, press down through our feet and lift our hips to the sky. Roll through the back, bottom touches, release down. Lift up and over, sending your knees over your toes, release, come all the way back down. So you can encourage that little tuck under here. So we work on that hamstring strength to pull our pelvis back into that posterior rotated position. And work through your set, trying to build that strength. Seeing if you can fatigue those muscles, so they should start to feel tired. Try and keep the chair or the sofa that your feet are rested on as still as possible. You want to repeat 20 repetitions. You're going to recover and do 3 sets. And the last exercise for our Lordotic posture changes are going to be to bring our feet up onto the chair and strengthen the muscles at the front. So from here, you're going to connect through the lower tummy, thinking about a zipper running up the middle, and then you're going to float your head and shoulders up towards your knees. Try not to press your body down into the floor. Keep your neutral spine. Float to the sky. Hold for 10 seconds. And then lower, release back down. Again, think about that connection through the tummy. Float your head and shoulders to the sky. And lift up and away from the floor. Release and lower. Okay, so the next set of exercises are going to be more orientated to a sway back posture. So when we were against the wall, your back was quite stuck onto the wall, you identify with your bottom tucking underneath you, then we're going to work on releasing that and creating a little bit more of an arch through our backs. This is where we're going to use the release. Okay, so in standing, you're going to stand on the ball first of all. And you want the ball underneath the very front of your foot. So where your toes meet the rest of your foot, the ball of your foot. If we tuck our bottom underneath us, the back chain tends to be very tight, and that includes our foot. So you're going to push the ball of your foot down into the ball. Feel like almost thumbs pressing into the sole of your foot, getting any tension out of there, loosening the fascia, letting the bones move. The next position we place that ball is underneath the arch of the foot, and we again press down, release, press, release, press, release. So we're just moving up those points of connection underneath the sole of the foot. And then we're going to roll the foot up and down the ball, finding any tight points, rolling into the instep, the outside, front to back, opening up through the foot. And we're going to do that on both sides. It's a really lovely thing to just have your foot on the floor in between and notice how one side compares to the other. It can really show up any stiffness that you're feeling through the foot. The next release task here is your pelvic ligaments. So then you need the ball underneath your bottom against the wall. So you're going to find the sacrotuberous ligament, and you can look back to the anatomy section if you need to work out where to find that exactly. Leaning into the ball, we're going to roll the ball up and down across that ligament, trying to trace its C shape from that sit bone down to the tailbone, maybe even up and along the side of the pelvis. Anywhere where it feels sore, tight, a bit gristly sometimes, and anywhere that does feel more sore than others, just hold it there and notice if that pain radiates, if the tension radiates, if you can feel it referring somewhere else. We're going to hold that if that happens, and what should happen is the intensity should come back to the ball, so it should reduce and just centre around the ball. It can take up to a minute to do that, so give it some time. You might notice that this is more tight, more sore than the foot release. You might notice the opposite, that you're feeling all of your tightness through here into your bottom, none in your foot at all. And just spend more time wherever you feel it the most. Rolling from side to side, left and right might feel very different left and right might feel very, very different. Up and down may feel different too, depending on which of those ligaments carry the most tightness, which muscles feel more tense. And we're going to release here. And then we're going to take it into a hamstring stretch. So using your mat again, come into kneeling, and you're going to straighten out your front leg with your toes down on the ground. You want to bring your knee as straight as you can, and then from here, we're going to fold forwards. Hold on for balance if you need to. We're not testing your balance, just giving you that stretch. I quite like to reach around and encourage that lift of our tail out behind us to further stretch down through the back of the leg. And we're going to hold that for 30 seconds on each side. Again, notice which of these stretches and releases feel most significant for you, and they're going to become your highest priority. Let's change over. Straight leg, sit back, reach round, lift your bottom, hold it here. Okay, so when you've done your 30 seconds twice on each side, we can come into some activation. So the muscles which tend to be not working so much are through our back line. So let's start with our glutes. Lying on our side, heels together. You want to try and have a nice straight line through your body. And then we roll open the top leg, pushing our heels together, keeping the toes open. Squeeze the heels firmly. Try and hold that posture and hold that shape, working throughout this hold and the squeeze. Follow the repetitions to build the endurance, and repeat that on both sides. And then the final task here is rolling onto your tummy. And this is going to strengthen into our lower backs and promote this closure of the back of our pelvis. Okay, so with our knees bent like a frog, forehead on your hands, and you can look straight down, knees wide, you're just going to press your heels together. Don't be tempted to tuck under your tail, keep your tail poking out, and just squeeze your heels firmly together. Maintain this squeeze, just hold and breathe. And release. You're going to work on 10 seconds and 6 of those. Releasing, repeating, holding that position. So pick from here the exercises which suit your posture and the changes we need to make the most. And I'll take you through into task 3.